the essence of your talk today, what we are speaking, we are not this body. Because this body will die.
You're not the body, you're the soul embodied within this body, encaged within this body.
These are like two bodies, and these two bodies have got air inside these balloons. Now when I let the air out of one balloon and let the air out, when the soul leaves the body, do you believe if two people were to die, are those two souls remain separate souls, or are they part of like the air of these balloons? They have merged and then they give life to that subtle body.
I'm saying we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is the source of Paramatma. When we say Krishna is inside me, that is referring Krishna is actually sitting beside me. It's not inside the soul.
Now, if you as a revered monk believe that there is a soul and there's a Krishna Supreme Soul next to each other, honestly, Swamiji, with folded hands, none of us can go inside and prove this.
Why Krishna would create us and send us to this material world for so-called enjoyment, temporary, and a lot of miseries, and again take us back and merges the souls within himself. Now, what is the fun? So that is wrong.
Without the Supreme, even this Deha will not be there, the Dehi will not be there. This is the biggest challenge in the world today, which is called Dvaita and Advaita, you know. सच को कोई ना जानता, ये अपरोक्ष अनुभूति है, इसका कोई सबूत ना, सच का एहसास होना है.
You're an amazing composer.
I am nothing. I am nothing, Swami. Hare Krishna. So, with the divine blessings of the Lord, let me have the honor of welcoming you to this lovely evening. My dear friends, those of you who are live on Insta, today it is my pleasure, my honor to have with me Sri Chakravarti Das. He's not just a renowned monk, he's a life coach, a spiritual teacher, and he spreads his love for the Lord in Juhu, Mumbai. And today I am excited to have this conversation with Swamiji, and would like to share a very beautiful topic. And today we are going to talk about how realizing the true self is so important to building a beautiful connection with the Supreme, the Divine. Jai Shri Krishna. Swamiji, over to you.
Thank you, Ravi ji. Thank you very much. And your topic today, what we'll be discussing, is uplifting oneself, realizing the true self and connecting with the divine. Why it is important? First of all, we understand who we are, and second, we'll talk about why it is important for us to uplift and connect with the divine. So, what we are talking is self. So first of all, we have to understand what is self. Generally, if you ask anyone, any person in the world, who are you? Either they'll tell their name, they'll tell their profession, they'll tell their business, or if they are students, or anything else. Because most of the people in the world, and when I say most, means almost all, we connect, or people connect themselves with the body. If you ask me, who are you? I'll say, I'm a monk. But that is the body. Who am I? I'm soul. I'm the spirit soul. And everyone in the world, including animals and birds and reptiles and microbes and plants and trees and humans, everyone is soul. So once we understand all these problems, what is happening, the base of religion, caste, creed, color, and money, everything will go away because everyone is a soul.
So beautifully said.
Because of different karma, we are getting different things. You may be driving a Mercedes, I may be driving an auto, but ultimately both of us are driving. So we have to understand that, first of all, the first teaching Bhagavad Gita, the first principle of Bhagavad Gita teaches, Dehino asmin yatha dehe, Kaumaram Yovanam Jara, Tatha Dehantar Praptes, Dhiras Tatra Namoyate. This is the first instruction Krishna is giving to Arjuna. That you are Dehi, not Deha. Deha means body. You are not the body, you are the soul, embodied within this body, encaged within this body. So when I understand, people go all around the world and talk about personality development. I say, Prabhus, first, before you understand what is personality development, let us understand what is personality, and before personality, let us understand what is person.
Correct.
And person is the soul. So once you understand this, then we actually can develop ourselves.
So beautifully, you've explained it so beautifully. So, Swamiji, as soon as you started, I wanted to interrupt you, but I didn't interrupt you, and you welcomed me as Ravi. But Ravi is no more. When I realized that this body is Ravi, as you said, so I immediately called myself the Atma in Ravi, which became AiR, AiR. And I would love to hear from you also on how people are confused with Deha and Dehi. And this whole concept of transmigration of the soul, which is so easily misunderstood by people. And you are a master of the Bhagavad Gita. I must admit, I don't know so much about the details as people have interpreted it. But the essence of your talk today, what we are speaking, we are not this body. Because this body will die. If we were this body, our loved ones would not burn the body. Why would they burn the body? If we are sleeping and we wake up in the morning, would anybody dare burn our body? No. Only when the soul leaves the body, then they realize, "Arey, wo to chal base, wo to chale gaya." Only then. And even scientifically, Swamiji, people, if you contemplate birth, people are celebrating their birth date. But the birth date is fake. They cut a cake, but they were conceived 9 months before. They were kicking in their mother's stomach. Unfortunately, people are not blessed enough to come to your mission or to meet people who can explain these simple truths. But I would love to hear from you, why are people confusing this Deha and Dehi? Is it because the words are very similar? And like the human computer, people very much understand the difference between a computer's hardware and software. Very often when people ask me, I ask them, can the computer hardware work without software? They said, no. And can the software work without hardware? They said, how is it possible? And then I asked them, what do you need? They said, hardware and software. I said, no. What about the power supply? If there's no power supply, hardware and software cannot work. So I'm very happy you started with the soul, and I have been blessed with the beautiful acronym, SOUL, is a spark of unique life. So we are that soul, that spark of unique life. And though I revere you as a monk, you have yourself realized that the monk that you are adorning is just like a garment, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that you are actually the Atma inside. That is what you call Dehi. And I have learned, because I get confused with terms, especially about who is reborn, this transmigration of the soul. And I would love to hear that from you.
Thank you. So, master of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna himself, and whoever has understood Bhagavad Gita in disciplic succession, he can, not become the master like Krishna, but he can understand the Bhagavad Gita and apply in his life. What is disciplic succession? Before going to the concept of soul, Krishna has taught this Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So that is, Arjuna becomes the receiver of Bhagavad Gita, perfect knowledge, as it is. And similarly, there is a Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he is 32nd in that disciplic succession, and he has understood and imbibed that spirit of Bhagavad Gita. See, they say that we should not take it law of the letter of the law. We should understand the spirit. So understanding spirit, and then Prabhupada imbibed and applied in his life, and then he preached. That is why people many a time ask that why ISKCON Bhagavad Gita is known as Bhagavad Gita as it is. Why not only Bhagavad Gita? Because we want to emphasize this as it is, as Krishna has given. So that is about master of Bhagavad Gita. Now Krishna, when he speaks, Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yomanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namoyati. This verse itself will talk whatever you have told me to cover subject matter. Deha, Dehi and transmigration and common sense. Everything, why people are confused. Namoyati, they will not be bewildered. Everything is in this one shloka. Now what is Deha and Dehi? Deha is body. I am carrying this body as you and me are wearing these clothes. These clothes are not carrying us. We are carrying the clothes. If we will throw the clothes will not start walking. Right now, if I am moving the hand up and down, this cloth is going up and down. Why? Because my hand is moving. So similarly, this body is like a cloth, as Krishna says. And the soul inside is moving the body. It's like, take an example of an aircraft. Such a huge aircraft. A 6 feet or a 5.5 feet tall pilot, he just flies entire aircraft. So that is the potential. So soul is very potent. So soul can carry anything. So soul is different, and the deha, the body is different. Now see the transmigration. What Krishna says, Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. One transmigration we understand at the death. Very beautifully you said. I'll just narrate an incident which is like 20 years, 25 years ago from Bangalore itself, the city which you are in. So there was a husband-wife. IT started, husband-wife spending time together, staying together because husband was working in IT industry. And 15 years they were married together. Kids were studying in some other city. And after dinner, husband, after half an hour, suddenly died. Maybe cardiac arrest, he just died. Finished. And wife immediately called her father. And father said, Beta, the flight is not there right now because 25 years ago, night flights are not there. He said, the first flight I'll take in the morning, you just do one thing. Get a lot of ice. Keep the body over the ice. And I'll come back. Now, wife who has embraced the husband thousands of times, so intimate relationship, but she could not stay in the house when husband is dead because it's only body, the soul is gone. That wife immediately called up her friend and she said, I want to stay with you whole night, I cannot stay with this body. So we understand this, and that is why we said in English we say passed away. Yeah, Hindi mein we say guzar gaye, chal base. Guzar gaye is Urdu. Chal base. Every language. Who chal base? Who passed away? The body is still there. My father passed away. The father is still there. No. This is body of father. Father passed away. That means you accept that soul exists. Now, this is one kind of transmigration, as you rightly said. As soon as the family member, the dearmost family member is dead, first thing we do is cry for some time. Second, immediate thing we do is prepare for the cremation. Burn the body. The first thing we do is, now, Krishna is speaking amazing thing. Kaumaram Yovanam Jara. Krishna says, Arjuna, forget about after death transmigration. I will teach you transmigration happens in this body every moment. Now, I am 41 years old. You see my body. This body was not there when I was 2 years old. Where is that body? That body is gone. So when I was 2 years old, that body is gone. When I'm 20 years old, that body is gone. We play football or cricket or some sports. Kids, as children, we used to play. And sometimes there will be some bruises or cuts. And then immediately you see this wear and tear of the cells. Like if I shave and if I cut, there'll be wear and tear. Black, some skin will come and then eventually new skin, old skin will go. That means the old skin is gone, new skin has come. As per science also, it takes 7 years to change entire body because body is changing every moment. So I'm 41, that means I've changed my body already 5 times. And this is my 6th body after birth. Because number of cells, they increase. So Krishna is saying, as a child, Arjuna, you had a different body. When you are young, a person has different body. When you become old, it's a different body. So you don't get bewildered when a soul is transmigrating from a body of a child to a young man or a woman. And then it transmigrates to old man or woman. You don't get bewildered. Dhiras tattara namoyati. A person who applies common sense, who has knowledge, he will never get bewildered. So similarly, we all are growing old. We are all growing closer to death. So similarly, death means now, like you have a car and any or a mobile or anything. When something happens to it, we go for a repair. Again, after few years, we go for repair. Again, after few years, we go for repair. At one point of time, the mechanic will tell you, sir, please sell this car and buy another one that will be cheaper. So when the body is complete, is like of no use, or in karma sense, if we talk, my karma to stay in this body is over. Then Krishna will arrange the soul to go to another body. Through the sperm of the man, it will enter the body of a woman, wife. And then I will take another body. And this body is just thrown off like old, worn, torn clothes. So that is how transmigration is happening right now also, not only at the time of death. So an intelligent person will not get bewildered by it.
So Swamiji, let's help people who are on this podcast, walking this podcast, understand. So do you agree that we are not this Deha, we are not this body? There is no doubt about that.
Absolutely no doubt.
But there is a little confusion regarding two sects of thought. One belief, of course, the soul. You also believe that the soul is energy. It is the Atma is part of the Paramatma energy. Is there any doubt about that?
Atma is energy, true. Atma is part of Paramatma, true. Yes.
So now, when we have karma, as long as we have karma, then we are going to be born because we have got karma. We have not transcended our karma. So therefore, like you said, when the body dies, who is reborn? It is the subtle body, what is the mind, what we call the mind and the ego, me, that is reborn when the Atma gives it it's conceived in a new mother's womb. So is that your belief or you have a different understanding of this?
No, what you said is true. I'll add a little bit, or let me explain, like ABCD for everyone to understand. So this is the body. This is gross body. Gross body are made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, which we know in India, Panchatattva. This body, when person dies, this body is burnt. Another body is there inside this body is called subtle body, which is made up of 3 elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Not ego, false ego. So that is why the karma and the memories transfer to another birth because the subtle body is going. So at the time of death, gross body is destroyed, the subtle body remains, and the soul is still encaged in the subtle body. So it is made up of mind, intelligence, false ego. Why false ego? Ego means identity. Who am I? Ego. If I say I am the body, that is false identity. So it is known as false ego. And when I completely destroy this, if I am able to destroy the subtle body, which is made up of mind, false ego, and intelligence, the subtle body will get destroyed and the soul is now independent. That is called moksha. That is liberation. And the soul immediately runs away back to the soul. And how it happens? The process of bhakti.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little. You're a very intelligent monk, and you are not only a spiritual monk. I think you're highly intellectual, and therefore I'm going to ask you a question. This is one balloon. This is another balloon. These are like 2 bodies, and these 2 bodies have got air inside these balloons, and they are like the Shakti in these balloons. Now when I let the air out of one balloon and let the air out, when the soul leaves the body, do you believe that the same soul is traveling into another body, or the soul merges with the Supreme Soul, and then that energy of the Supreme comes back as a soul in a new birth? This is a very important question to understand from you. As I gave you this analogy of the two balloons, if two people were to die, are those two souls actually like tangible? This is where Buddha, in fact, I must tell you, the Buddha, the enlightened one, he got so fed up, I believe, of this whole concept, he called it anatta. He said there is no soul. Right? I hope you must have read that part of it. So Swamiji, do these two souls remain separate souls, or are they part of like the air of these balloons? They have merged and then they give life to that subtle body which you spoke about, the mind, the intellect and the false ego. Beautifully said. The subtle body gets, carrying its karma, is embedded in a new fertilization when a spark of unique life, that soul of the Paramatma, the Atma, gives life. What do you think so?
I'm saying we are part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is the source of Paramatma.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So Krishna is Supreme God. Okay. Now we are his part and parcel. So tell me, let's try to understand with the logic. Why Krishna would create us and send us to this material world for so-called enjoyment, temporary, and a lot of miseries, and again take us back and merges the souls within himself. Now, what is the fun? So that is wrong. Why? And it is given in Bhagavad Gita itself. The Buddha is also incarnation of Krishna. Sometimes, you have to use different techniques to teach a child. Not every technique is permanent. There are some permanent techniques, there are some temporary techniques. You tell the child, beta, you will study for 1 hour, I will give you one toffee. That's not every time. That's only for that time. The exam is going on. So as Krishna has already created so many souls. Actually, souls are also not created. They always exist. We are always with Krishna. But because of our separate or mentality to separately enjoy, we are sent to this world. Like a child, when he's grown up, he becomes adult, 18 years old, say, Papa, give me my property. I will give me my money, my part, I'll go and enjoy. So that is how Krishna created this world and he sent us. But Krishna is so merciful that he accompanies with the soul as a super soul, as Paramatma. He is always sitting beside us and trying to guide us, but we don't listen to him. That is why we are suffering. So when moksha comes, so when the gross body is gone and dead body is gone, subtle body is dead. Now the soul goes back to the spiritual world where the soul is absorbed or involved in leelas with Krishna. Gocharan leela, different leelas. So we are playing with Krishna. Why we want to merge in Krishna and finish our existence, finish our identity? What is the fun then? I will try so hard to come out of this body and subtle body and then merge in Krishna. What will I do after merging Krishna? I'll just become one part, nothing. It's better to have interaction with Krishna, play with Krishna, talk with Krishna, dance with Krishna, eat with Krishna. That is life. That is spiritual life. And that Krishna himself explains. Because Arjuna is asking in 12th chapter, oh my dear Krishna, that many people worship you in impersonal form, which we call Brahma Jyoti. And many people worship you in personal form as Krishna, which is higher. Krishna himself says, the highest is worshipping me in personal form and being with me, rather than worshipping the Brahma Jyoti, which is a lower, which is at a lower strata than me. It is my light, the divine light coming from the divine body of Krishna is called Brahma Jyoti. So Krishna is telling, cross that layer of Brahma Jyoti and come to me and spend time with me for eternity. Let us play. Let us go around Yamuna. Let us go around Govardhan. Let us play. Let us have fun. Let's have party.
So this is the beauty of loving Krishna and having Krishna in Vaikuntha and having this whole thing. But this is when I used to love this bhajan which used to say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. But what words came to me which I'm leaving with you today, and the audience has something to ponder upon. The words that came to me is Prabhu Paas hai, Prabhu Paas hai, dur nahi wo Prabhu Paas hai, Atma hi Paramatma hai, dil ke andar uska निवास है, शिव भी वही राम है, हनुमान वही घनश्याम है. So I completely understand that when you say so beautifully that Krishna is inside me, don't you say that Krishna is the soul that's inside you, Krishna is inside you?
So when
And
we
so
say
Krishna
Krishna
is
is
inside.
inside me, when we say Krishna is inside me, that is referring Krishna is actually sitting beside me. It's not inside the soul. See,
It,
Krishna sits beside the soul. Krishna and the soul, the super soul and the soul, they sit beside together.
separate, yeah. So this is the biggest challenge in the world today, which is called Dvaita and Advaita, of how to. But to me, I think it's a perspective. Whether now if you as a revered monk believe that there is a soul and there's a Krishna supreme soul next to each other, honestly, Swamiji, with folded hands, none of us can go inside and prove this. It is a realization, it's an anubhuti. That anubhuti comes to you in your way, the anubhuti comes to me. But one thing is very clear, that the ultimate goal of our life is not to be slave of the mind, not to have this false ego. It stands tall like a wall, and until it will fall and we see Krishna in one and all, then only we can love Krishna, then only we can see even what you are saying. The supreme soul is inside you and the soul is separate as per your own submission, and I accept. But that soul which is next to the supreme soul is also from the supreme. Without the supreme, even this Deha will not be there, the Dehi will not be there. Everything is a manifestation of the supreme. I hope that much you agree that this whole world is a manifestation of the supreme, or do you have a different opinion on this?
No, Krishna himself says, like Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvita, 10.8 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying. Now, before, as you said, my perspective or yours perspective, like you might be using a phone right now and you are using an iPhone, I'm using an iPhone or Instagram. So how to operate Instagram, we have to ask the creator of the Instagram. How to operate the iPhone, I have to ask the creator of the iPhone. I cannot decide. So realization will come, but realization should come. The creator is Krishna, and I should read Bhagavad Gita, understand Bhagavad Gita, and ask the creator. And he has already replied to our questions using Arjuna as a medium, what he wants from us, how he wants this world, this body, our mind, everything should be operated, because he is the creator. So every electronic product we buy, or any electrical product or any product, we ask the creator how to operate. If you don't ask the creator and operate in a different way, then we'll be messing it up. So we have to ask the operator, the creator, and who's Krishna, how to manage this. And that is Bhagavad Gita.
Very beautiful. No, in fact, I often refer to the Gita and often refer to how life must be. We talk of karma yoga, we talk of moksha. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads are not very different from each other. I have only one concern which I am leaving with you. We can talk for hours together, but our time is going to be over soon. I am only sharing a small concern with you which is in the world today. It is one world. Don't mind me saying, I was praying to Shiva from the age of 8 to the age of 48. And I always used to say, Om Namah Shivaya, that way. Till I realized something within. And I now say, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. Which means nothing else, that Krishna is within me. And I am nothing. मैं क्या हूँ कुछ भी नहीं सब कुछ तुम ही हो प्रभु. I keep repeating things that reminds me of how this one world, this one cosmos has one creator. And the problem in this world, Swamiji, and I hope with all humility I submit it to you for your contemplation. And I know that for you, the word of the Bhagavad Gita is supreme. And I bow down to that and I accept that. But in the world today, there is so much conflict. There is conflict between different religions. In our own country, there is Jai Shri Ram and there's Hare Krishna. And there is very beautiful bhakti. The bhakti movement is so beautiful. But ultimately, the world has to accept one supreme truth. And that one supreme truth must not be with conflict. And probably at the next podcast, maybe we could bring about how there could be synergy. Because the moment when, when you go backward and go backwards, ultimately keep going backwards. Like you said, beautifully you said, this body can last only 7 years. This is not what spirituality is. This is scientific, that cells will die and you have a new kidney, a new lung, a new brain. And so like you beautifully said, at 40 plus, you are having version, Chakravarti Das, version number 6. So with all due respect, I hope I'm not going wrong in what you said. But my challenge is only this, that if all the gods of this world can be considered to be one supreme immortal power, which I call SIP, and that SIP is Krishna, as you call it. That SIP may be Rama, as somebody else call it. That SIP may be Shiva, as somebody else called it. To me, it doesn't matter what we call God, because trying to define God, to me, trying to define Krishna, according to what you say, is like trying to empty an ocean into your bathtub. You cannot define the Supreme. The Supreme, our brain, our mind is a fraction of what the Supreme we can comprehend the Supreme to be. Yes, in this short conversation before we end, the purpose of life is to realize God. The purpose of life, like you said, is to realize we are not this body. This body will die. And you also use the word moksha. So therefore the purpose of life is to attain moksha. But to you, moksha is to play with Krishna, is to reach that state where you can be joyously playing with Krishna and, like you said, doing seva, whatever he asks you to do.
And that is why, sorry to interrupt, that is why we say the goal of life is not to attain moksha. The goal of life is to attain Krishna Prema, love for Krishna. Moksha is a very small part.
Beautiful. And as I told you, we are both talking the same thing. But the only difference is that you are saying that you will attain moksha when you have that love for Krishna and become one with Krishna. But I see Krishna in you. I see Krishna everywhere. And I'm in love with Krishna all the time. Because every human being that I see Krishna. And if I see a D-O-G, I don't see a D-O-G, I see a G-O-D. And so for me, to love Krishna is to see Krishna in all, to love Krishna in all, to serve Krishna in all. I keep telling Krishna, what do I tell Krishna? I say, मैं एक बांसुरी प्रभु कुछ भी नहीं, संगीत है तेरा मैं कुछ भी नहीं, मैं तो कुछ ना हूँ करता, करता जो भी है तू ही करता. We think we are doing, Swamiji. Isn't it true? What are we? We are mere puppets. Today you and me, we are talking because there is Wi-Fi, because there's energy that we can communicate. Yes. If the supreme energy leaves us in this moment, if that energy is gone, what are you and me? We are nothing.
Non-existential.
Yeah. So with all due respect, I loved the conversation we've had, but they are telling me that we can't continue very long. To conclude this whole thing, there is a difference of Dvaita, Advaita. There is that divine power, and with all reverence, I would love to accept you call it Krishna. And I also want to become one with the Supreme. I also want to become. But the journeys, the paths, maybe different paths, and we are trying to reach that ultimate. What would you like to have as your concluding message that you would like to share based on this conversation?
So I want to give you one example. As you know, there is a book, a law book, and two different lawyers may interpret the book in different ways, but the law remains law. So similarly, the Creator has created this entire creation, and He has a system in place. He has everything in place. We don't see any difference between two souls, or we don't see difference between gods. Rather, I have one session which I have entitled, I have titled it like, if there is one God, why there are so many religions? See, there can be fighting amongst the human beings, amongst animals. There are no many gods that there is fighting between the god. If there are multiple gods, they will fight. Then the world is gone. There's one
Absolutely.
God. The understanding is different. The understanding may be different, and we have to come and again. These two lawyers have to come back again and again to the same law book and understand. So from that law book, which is of 500 pages, I take a small abridged version of law book, which is of 50 pages, and give it to someone. So his understanding of law will be not complete. So the original, it is not that this religion and this religion and this religion. We have to come and understand. We have to reach towards the source of all religions. We have to reach to the source. And once we understand the source, then if there is one father, there will be universal brotherhood. When we accept that, when we understand the source. The first and foremost thing that is, beyond our comprehension as of now, as you said, true. First and foremost, as you mentioned, we have to control our mind and senses. Let us not engage ourselves in sinful activities. Let us not disturb anyone. Let us not give pain to any soul, be it animal, be it human being, birds, or anything. Let us start caring for everyone. Then Krishna will be happy. Then the universal father will be happy that kids, all the kids, brothers and sisters, they're living together. And then he will open the curtain and reveal to us who really he is. So let us start controlling the mind and senses.
So what you said is very beautiful. Thank you for that. And therefore, when somebody asks me, Swami, what is mind? I say MIND is misery, ignorance, negativity, and desires. So MIND, I have put this as an acronym because actually, where is the mind? Nobody can see. The mind you cannot find, but it's only a bundle of toxic thoughts. That's why when we meditate, we still the mind, we kill the mind. We reach that state of Sat Chit Anand. In that state, the intellect is active. We become a sthit pragya, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And then the intellect is overtaking that toxic mind and it discriminates. It makes the right decision. But the only challenge that I am going to hopefully have a conversation with you again is, everybody think, with all respect, we call our divine Krishna. But somebody else, like you said, there are no different gods. And even with all respect with the Bhagavad Gita, in our country today, they say Gita pe haath lag ke main kasam khata hu, कि जो भी कहूँगा सच कहो. So, but the point is, I have friends.
I don't agree with that.
No, okay. I'm just saying that the Gita is revered. Gita is revered by all. But I'm not referring to the quote and things like that. But I have friends who think that the Bible is like the Bhagavad Gita. For them, the Bible is the word of God. And for me, Swamiji, in the Bible, there are two lines. They say the kingdom of God is within, or God lives in the temple of your heart. Now, as we said, we can go on. We're having a beautiful conversation. We can go on and on till the camera's memory cards are over. But the point is, what is the ultimate truth? There is one God. Like you said, there are no many gods. There is one God. And we are not this body. We are not the mind. The ego, ego, is what ejects God out. And unless the ego is enlightened, unless that ego, there's a beautiful song. You follow Hindi, right? There's no problem in me saying something in Hindi before I close. So in a song I say, Prabhu aur hum mein beech hai parda, है जो ये अहंकार, प्रभु और अपने बीच है पर्दा, है जो ये अहंकार, अहंकार को जो छोड़ा उसको मिल गया भगवान. So this ego that separates you and me, this ego that makes us fight with each other, this ego that's creating world war, we have to work together, Swamiji, how to go beyond the mind and ego, beyond this Deha, which we are not. And like you beautifully started this podcast, this Dehi, which we are, the true soul. And ultimately become one with the Supreme. Somebody in the West may not call that Supreme Krishna. You and me may say Krishna or Shiva or whatever. But ultimately, we want that self-realization to take us to God realization. And ultimately, I'm closing with one small verse, and then you can take the final word. I tell people, सच को कोई ना जानता, ये अपरोक्ष अनुभूति है, इसका कोई सबूत ना, सच का एहसास होना है। प्रभु तो है हर जगह, वो हमें ना दिखते हैं, उनके बिन तो कुछ भी ना, वो हैं तो हम सब हैं। So I leave the final word with you, and I thank you for this lovely evening and this lovely discussion over Insta Life. But the final word with you, Swamiji.
Before my final words, I must, admit you're an amazing composer. And because I understand Hindi very well, so it's amazing. I just,
I am nothing. I am nothing, Swamiji. Yeah.
yeah, everything has to start from somewhere. So my journey for realization, self-realization, or your journey for anyone in the world has to start. So Brihad Naradi Puran says, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. 3 times it is mentioned, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama. Hari ka naam, Hari ka naam, Hari ka naam. Nothing else is there. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Eva Kevalam. Eva means only, Kevalam means only. Kalau, in this Kalyuga, Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. There is nothing else, nothing else. So the name of Lord Hari, and it is given for the entire world, is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm not saying that one cannot chant any other thing. You can chant anything. Any name of God has same potential. But this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, especially because it's given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is an incarnation of Krishna. Let us take some time out and chant Hare Krishna, and then separately you can chant, even Shiva's name, even Ram's name, any other name. Even you can read Bible. It's all same thing. But sometime, let us 10 minutes every day chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So with this final thing, which is the essence of all the scriptures, I leave the audience to think about it and try to follow and make your life perfect in this life itself. Hare.
Hare Krishna. Gratitude. I bow down to you, and it was an honor to have you on this Insta Life. Thank you, Swamiji.